Hi, Gemini. Thank you for tuning in. This is a mid-month reading for the month of April 2017. Right? I'm using the Angel Tarot by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. So let's see what the cards have to say for mid-April for Gemini. All right, so Nine of Swords is the first card to come out. Worry, concerns. Again, the Wheel. This has been coming up for a lot of signs. So definitely, I don't know. So your center card, Gemini, is the Queen of Swords. Independence, intelligence, being objective. First card that popped up was the Nine of Swords. So either you're concerned or worried about something, or there was something at one point that you were worried or concerned about. Something that kind of kept you up at night. Okay, but the cards I have right after that is the Seven of Pentacles, seeds well planted. Right? Unnecessary worry, which comes right after the Nine of Swords. So there may have been worry and concerns, or something could have been on your mind, or something you couldn't quite figure out, put your finger on. Right after that, Seven of Pentacles, unnecessary worry. So that was just a result of your mind or your doubts, or all that no longer serves you kind of coming to the surface. Okay, because Seven of Pentacles is just a temporary pause in action, perhaps, because the seeds are well planted, right? And then right after that, I have the Dreamer, a leap of faith. Follow your dreams, unexpected opportunities. So whatever you were worried about, or whatever you had doubts about, or that could have concerned you, it had no basis in reality, so to speak. That's not to say the things you were worried about aren't real. It's just these worries were just a figment of your imagination. You know, they weren't real, genuine concerns. It was more something that your mind had made up. Center card, Queen of Swords, intelligence, intellect, being objective, taking a very smart approach to things. And to either side of that, I have the Lovers, okay, which I always repeat this every time this card comes up. It could either represent an intimate relationship, okay, a relationship with a partner, love, romance, or as the original tarot, which I have ordered a different deck, so it will be more to the original images, a man and two women, so weighing your choices, wise decisions. And then to the right of the Queen of Swords, I have the Six of Cups, which represents childhood. It could represent the inner child. So either you're taking a childlike approach, or you are encouraged to take a childlike approach and be playful and tune back into that feeling of when you were a kid and everything was possible and every dream was possible and so much ambition. Or it could be encouraging you to work on a childhood issue, or work with your inner child, or work with your children. Let me tune it a little bit more, because that's kind of vague. Because the last three cards I have, Eight of Cups, a desire to move on. You want something more meaningful. And because it comes right after the Six of Cups, you know, it's very likely that you want to move on from something from your past, move on from a childhood trauma or memory. It could be that, you know, when you were a kid, certain dreams or certain ways of being were put down, or were frowned upon. You can't be a ballerina, you can't be an astronaut, that's ridiculous, that takes so much work and this and this and this, and you want to move on from that feeling of doubt, or that feeling of being unable to be a kid, being unable to not even be a kid, but unleash that inner child. Because right after the Eight of Cups, I have the Knight of Pentacles. Buckle down, get things done, honor your commitments. So whatever these doubts that could have been conditioning you to think less of yourself, to think less of your dreams, to think less of your ambitions, it's time to move on from that and time to get things done. That's not to say, that at a particular age you can't start from scratch and become a ballerina at, say, 60 years old. However, although, anything is possible, or an astronaut at the same age, but it's time to move on from that doubt or that feeling of, I have to be an adult all the time. I have to be grown up. Queen of Swords, I have to be objective. I have to always be intellectual. I have to be smart about every single decision I make, right? There's an opportunity for balance. Balance that with the inner child. Allow yourself to be playful. Take that leap of faith, right? You don't have to be grown up all the time. Last card. Now this has been popping up for a lot of signs, the Wheel. So change, cycles, forward movement. It's possible that whatever you were worried about, Nine of Swords, whatever was concerning you was unnecessary, because this stems from a childhood false belief, right? Why does it encourage you to take that leap of faith? Perhaps it's childhood issues with a parent, or you view yourself in a particular way because a parent, a guardian, a sibling, a family member, or someone very involved in your childhood, a situation, even a circumstance, tried to influence you or indirectly influenced you to think that you are less capable than you are, which is why it was all about the mind, all about making the right decisions, being a step ahead, being smart about things. But there's an opportunity to balance that with your inner child. Either side of this Queen of Air, the Lovers, balanced decisions, and Six of Cups, memories, childhood, or not even when you were a kid, but a time when you were vulnerable and you were impacted to have a false belief. Because Eight of Cups, move on. There's a desire to move on from that, for something more meaningful, for growth. And right after that, King of Pentacles, buckle down and do it. It's all part of this wheel of fortune, this wheel of life, the universe, time, physics, quantum mechanics. I mean, it really doesn't matter what label you put on it. Things are always moving. The energy of the universe is always moving. You can spend the whole day in bed and the entire world will have changed. In these past few minutes that I've been speaking, the entire world has moved, has changed. Your heart has beat. You know what I mean? Your lungs have exchanged air. Every second there's always change. Okay, and these cards are telling me that it's time to change something a little more concrete, which could be a false belief or an illusion you have about yourself, which it's possible you may not be entirely aware of it because your wits and your intelligence has served you well so far, right? The mind is part of this physical universe. It has a purpose, and it has perhaps taken you places you want to go. But take a leap of faith and maybe dig deep into something that an illusion or a childhood memory, perhaps, I don't know, perhaps something with a parent, something they did or something that happened, a loss even. I feel like that's not maybe entirely behind you. And if it is, then that's wonderful. Let me draw Gemini, please. I'm getting this isn't for everyone. This may be, although How many of us have a perfectly normal childhood, right? Seems to be the rarity these days. Gemini, please, guidance, advice. Gemini. Oops. 10 of Pentacles. Happy family life. Okay, finding magic in the little things. Gemini, please. Okay, 2 more just flew out. Just what I needed. Oh, 3. So first one, happy family life. Time to move on. Time to incorporate this change, this balance into your physical life. Maybe make some changes around the home. Maybe look through some photo albums. You know, maybe get rid of some furniture or some items that you've been holding on to for the wrong reasons. Maybe a fear of letting go, a fear of acceptance perhaps. Okay, and then I have the 4 of Pentacles, being too cautious or too frivolous. So again, if there's anything that you need to let go of, you may be a little bit too hesitant to let go of these things. You may be holding on to them in hopes that it'll keep a memory alive, or kind of like a sentimental attachment, maybe a value to something, maybe physical. I mean, Pentacles, it could be a place where you're living. It could be an object, a piece of furniture. It could be pictures, right? Not necessarily from childhood, from the past. King of Cups, focus, focus, communicate with vision. So take the reins, adjust whatever needs adjusting to move forward. But again, these cards aren't telling me that much, to be honest. I mean, the last one that fell was the Chariot. Self-discipline, willpower. You know, the energy is there. You have the ability to take the horse by the reins. There's a black and white horse too, so bear in mind that there's balance. Kind of your light side and your shadow side. It can't always be good and it can't always be bad. So balance, again, this works with the Lovers. Balance. I'm not gonna lie, Gemini, I'm not getting too strong of anything with this reading. I'm gonna use another deck, okay, and see if there's anything extra I can pull, because I'm not feeling too confident. For Gemini, please, any clarity, because I'm not getting too strong of anything with this. Just being honest, guys. I mean, it's not going to be great every time. For Gemini, please. Okay. Yes. 6 of Cups once more comes out, guys. Okay. So, childhood. Something from childhood, or something that has been conditioned. Something, thank you cards. Okay. Yes. Or something that has been conditioned into you, or has impacted you at a time of vulnerability, at a time of when you were very impressionable. This could be any time in your life. This needs to be balanced with your mind, perhaps your ego, right? It could be childhood trauma. Okay, it could be, God forbid, sexual abuse. It could be physical abuse in a past relationship, something that impacted a vulnerable part of you. Okay, and I'll say right away, this applies to everybody, no matter what happens in your physical life, in your physical body. that part of you, that soul, that spirit, that light can never, ever, ever be touched, can never be taken from you, and can never be affected. Okay? I'm just going to put that out there right now, because these traumas or these events, this pain that has been inflicted upon us, whether by our own selves, by loved ones, by family, or as children when we really didn't have control of a lot of things, I mean, the soul can cry, right? But now, middle April is an opportunity to really kind of maybe look back into that, create a sort of balance, or if you've already been working on this, perhaps it's time to revisit or to accept again, because as much as we don't want to admit it, these traumas, these pains, whatever has happened to us in the past that, makes your soul cry, this is a part of us. This is a part of our journey. It does not define who we are. It does not define what we are capable of, but it is still a part of our journey. Okay? And no matter how smart you are, how much you can justify things, this part is still there. And that's incredible that it came out even from the second deck. 78 cards, guys. I do not believe in accidents. So childhood. So something that needs maybe revisiting or acceptance. Something, let me see if I can pull another card. Gemini, please. Maybe that's why you're worried. Maybe this worry, these concerns are stemming from that belief or stemming from that experience, however indirect it may seem. Okay? And again, it may be unnecessary because it's in the past, but perhaps it's been surfacing because you need to take that leap of faith and you need to create more balance. You need to review, because 8 of Cups, there is a desire to move on from it or to forget it or to incorporate it into your life in a way that is no longer painful. And a Wheel, it's time to move forward from whatever this is. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be childhood. The fact that, childhood means a time of vulnerability, a time of when you're open and when you're susceptible. And this could be any time in our lives. We all have an inner child, right? It could be the inner child that needs to be nourished. Whoa. Had a card fly out, so I'm going to look at that first. Okay, 7 of Cups. So, possibility, choice. Different ways to move on, different ways to look back on this event or conditioning or bad experience. Possibilities to look at it a different way, to work with it a different way, to incorporate it into your life a different way. And by incorporate, it doesn't necessarily mean make it a part of your daily life, but to no longer resist it or to no longer hate it or to no longer deny it. Again, the world. So it's time for that to come to an end. Again, this may not apply to everyone. This is just guidance, and I'm getting that there's just maybe someone out there who needs to hear this. And I remember a time in my life when I really needed to hear this. You can move on from it. You can close that chapter. You can complete this cycle. I mean, it's... yeah. You can move on from this. There needs to be balance. And it is possible that this worry stems from, not directly from this deep-rooted kind of whatever has affected you in the past, but it could stem from a subconscious belief or illusion that itself was created at this time. at this time when you could have been impacted negatively by someone who had the means at the time. And of course, let go of self-blame as well. What happens to us and in our external life does not define who we are. It is not a reflection of who we are. It is simply a reflection of our current vibration. And I'm talking about when we are already aware. As children, of course, this is out of our control. Anything else for Gemini, please? Okay, right. Page of Cups, childlike. Childlike, a time of uncertainty, a time when you were perhaps a little more naive than you'd like to be, or this also suggests to me childlike as in it doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be like a downright serious, dark moment. I mean, just feed the inner child. It could be as simple as that. Go paint, go play in the park with, buy that expensive toy or gadget, or decorate your place in a very childlike fashion. It doesn't matter. Perhaps the way to go about this is by feeding that part of you that may be affected, or that part of the soul. Nourish it. Be playful. Feed that inner child. Wear crazy colors and, look back through photo albums and stalk some people on social media from your childhood and your past, see what they're up to. I mean, you could also take a very childlike approach as well. Okay, but there will be forward movement. I mean, the world and the wheel. There will be forward movement. And this is not an endless stream of imbalance. So yeah, middle April, I guess by this reading, it's encouraging you to look back at a time when you have been affected, when you may have been vulnerable, when you may have been a child, any traumas. Okay, you have the opportunity to make a wise and balanced choice in terms of that. It does not define who you are. It does not define what you're capable of, but it's still a part of our journeys. And it still affected us in one way or another. And it would be wise to feed the inner child, or feed the inner vulnerable part that was affected by whatever feels right. Okay, so that's what I have for Gemini for the middle of April. I hope that was helpful. Okay, and I will see you next month.